They say simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. In the world of app design, that's doubly true. But try telling that to someone who mistakes complexity for innovation. I learned this lesson the hard way at Summit Design Labs, watching 5 years of groundbreaking work get dismissed as basic by someone who couldn't tell a wireframe from a window display. My name is Alexandra Mitchell, and I've spent the last decade perfecting the art of invisible design. Interfaces so intuitive that users forget they're interacting with technology at all. It's the hardest kind of design to create, and the easiest to dismiss if you don't understand what you're looking at. This can't be it, Jackson Porter said, scrolling through my presentation with increasingly visible disappointment. Where's the innovation? The disruption? This looks like any other banking app. I watched my business partner of 5 years dismiss 18 months of revolutionary work with the casual arrogance of someone who'd never actually built anything himself. Jackson had joined Summit Design Labs in our 2nd year, bringing connections and capital we desperately needed at the time. He was good at one thing: convincing wealthy clients that we were the next big thing in tech design. That's the point, Jackson, I explained, zooming in on the interface layers. The innovation is in how it works, not how it looks. The adaptive learning system looks basic, he interrupted, pushing back from the conference table. Global Bank is expecting something revolutionary. They're not paying us $2 million for this. He gestured dismissively at my screens. I took a deep breath, reminding myself that Jackson's opinion didn't matter. Tomorrow's presentation to Global Bank's executive team would show them exactly how revolutionary the design was. The adaptive interface I'd created would change how people thought about banking, making complex financial transactions as intuitive as sending a text message. You haven't even tested it, I said, pulling up the prototype. Let me show you how the emotional response tracking works. Alex, Jackson cut in, using the condescending tone he perfected over the years. I know you're proud of this, but we need something that pops. Something that shows Global Bank they're getting their money's worth. All this invisible innovation doesn't sell. I looked around our sleek office, remembering when it was just a cramped co-working space where I'd first sketched out my vision for truly intuitive design. Summit Design Labs had grown on the strength of my work, but lately, Jackson had been pushing for more flash, less function, more sizzle, less steak. The prototype testing shows. Testing, Jackson scoffed. Real innovators don't wait for testing. They disrupt. They revolutionize. This, he waved at my screens again. This looks like something from a UX 101 class. That stung. I'd spent years developing the psychological principles behind my adaptive interfaces. The Global Bank app wasn't just a design. It was the culmination of everything I'd learned about how humans interact with technology. Jackson, the simplicity is deliberate. The interface adapts to each user's behavioral patterns, learning. Save the technical details, he interrupted, standing up. I've got another meeting. We'll talk about this tomorrow before the Global Bank presentation. He strode out, leaving me alone with my supposedly basic design. I turned back to my screens, checking the time. 16 hours until the presentation. Plenty of time for Jackson to come around once he actually saw the interface in action. I worked late into the night, refining the demonstration, making sure every interaction was perfect. The adaptive learning system was my masterpiece, an interface that would actually understand its users, anticipating their needs before they even realized them. At midnight, the cleaning crew found me still at my desk. Working late again, Miss Mitchell? Maria asked, emptying my trash can. Big presentation tomorrow, I smiled, rubbing my eyes. Have to make sure everything's perfect. Like always, she nodded. Mr. Porter left hours ago. Said something about a dinner with clients. I nodded, used to Jackson's networking sessions at expensive restaurants. Let him wine and dine. I had real work to do. It wasn't until I finally headed home at 2 a.m. that I noticed something odd. Jackson's laptop was still on his desk, glowing softly in the dark office. He never left without it. Curious, I glanced at the screen as I passed. What I saw made my blood run cold. There, in pristine high-resolution glory, was my interface design, but not the basic version Jackson had dismissed. This was my complete work, every innovation, every breakthrough, rebranded with a new company name, Porter Innovation Labs. My first thought was that I must be more tired than I realized. Jackson might be arrogant, but he couldn't. Then I saw the email drafts, the pitch deck, the incorporation papers. Porter Innovation Labs is proud to present a revolutionary new approach to financial technology. My hands shook as I scrolled through document after document. Jackson hadn't just stolen my design. He'd been planning this for months. The basic dismissal was just his cover, buying time while he prepared to launch my work as his own. And the client dinner he was at tonight, according to his calendar, it was with Global Bank's CEO. I sank into Jackson's ergonomic chair, my mind racing. 5 years of partnership, reduced to this. All those late nights, all that innovation, all that careful refinement. Jackson thought he could just take it all with a few keystrokes and a new logo. But he'd made one crucial mistake. He thought he understood my design. The interface I'd created wasn't just a pretty collection of screens and buttons. It was a living system, built on thousands of hours of behavioral research and psychological insight. Jackson had stolen the blueprint, but he didn't understand the architecture. And tomorrow, in front of Global Bank's entire executive team, that lack of understanding would become painfully clear. I pulled out my phone, checking the time. 14 hours until the presentation. Just enough time to make a few small adjustments to the demonstration version. Things that only someone who truly understood the system would notice. Jackson thought my design was basic. Tomorrow, he'd learn just how sophisticated basic could be. As I worked through the night, making subtle changes to the demonstration code, I thought about all the times Jackson had taken credit for my innovations, all the times he dismissed my work as basic or uninspired in private, only to praise it to clients once he figured out how to claim it as his own. This time would be different. By the time I left the office at 4 a.m., everything was ready. The interface looked exactly the same, deceptively simple, elegantly basic. But now, it contained a few special features that would only activate when someone tried to present it without understanding its true complexity. I drove home in the pre-dawn darkness, a small smile playing on my lips. In a few hours, Jackson would learn the hard way that there's nothing basic about true innovation. Sometimes the most sophisticated systems are the ones that look simplest on the surface. And sometimes the best way to prove your worth is to let others try to steal it. Tomorrow's presentation was going to be very interesting indeed. The morning of the Global Bank presentation dawned bright and clear. I arrived at their gleaming headquarters 2 hours early, watching their employees stream into the building, each one a potential user of my interface. Each one about to witness exactly what happens when someone tries to take credit for innovation they don't understand. Jackson strutted in at 8:45, wearing a suit that probably cost more than my monthly rent. His presentation folder was emblazoned with the Porter Innovation Labs logo. My designs, rebranded under his name. Alex. He looked surprised to see me in the Global Bank lobby. What are you doing here? Supporting my partner, I smiled. Big day for Summit Design Labs, right? His expression flickered. About that, there's been a change of plans. The presentation will be under my new venture. It's better for everyone this way. More innovative. More innovative than Summit Design Labs? I kept my voice casual. The company we built together. Look, Alex. He lowered his voice, glancing around the lobby. Your work is good, solid. But Global Bank needs something more cutting edge. Porter Innovation Labs represents the future of interface design. I nodded thoughtfully. And this sudden change wouldn't have anything to do with the complete project files I saw on your laptop last night. His face hardened. You went through my computer. You left it open. Right next to the incorporation papers for your new company, featuring my interface design. Your basic design, he corrected, straightening his Italian silk tie, which I've significantly improved. Listen, I'll make this easy. Walk away now, and I'll give you a generous settlement. Try to fight this, and my lawyers will bury you. Before I could respond, a tall woman in an impeccable suit approached us. Mr. Porter? I'm Catherine Walsh, Global Bank's Chief Innovation Officer. We're ready for you in the main boardroom. Jackson's practiced smile returned instantly. Wonderful. This is Alexandra Mitchell, one of our former designers. She was just leaving. I smiled warmly at Catherine. Actually, I'd love to see the presentation, if that's all right. I'm quite interested in innovative interface design. Catherine looked between us, clearly sensing tension. Of course, the more technical expertise in the room, the better. Shall we? The Global Bank boardroom was impressive. Wall-to-wall windows overlooking the city, state-of-the-art presentation screens, and a table long enough to seat the 20 executives gathered for the demonstration. Jackson took his place at the head of the table, exuding confidence. I sat quietly in the back, opening my laptop to monitor what was about to happen. Ladies and gentlemen, Jackson began, banking interface design hasn't changed significantly in a decade. Today, Porter Innovation Labs will show you the future of financial technology. I watched as he pulled up the first screens of my interface. Even rebranded with his company's logo, the design was unmistakably mine. Clean, intuitive, deceptively simple. What you're looking at, Jackson continued, is a revolutionary adaptive interface that learns from user behavior. Every interaction reshapes the system, creating a uniquely personalized experience. The executives leaned forward, interested. Jackson clicked through the demonstration screens, describing features he barely understood. I waited patiently, knowing what was coming. Let me show you how it works, he said, reaching the interactive portion of the demonstration. Imagine a typical banking customer trying to set up a complex investment portfolio. He tapped the screen, and that's when the interface began its real demonstration. The first change was subtle. Menu items shifting slightly, buttons responding a fraction of a second slower than they should. Jackson faltered momentarily, but pushed on. The system learns from each user's patterns, he continued, tapping through to the investment section. It adapts to their. Wait. The interface had started anticipating his actions, but not in the way he expected. Buttons moved just as he reached for them. Drop-down menus expanded in the wrong directions. Text shifted between languages. Small technical issue, he said, his forehead beginning to shine with sweat. The beauty of this system is its. The interface interrupted him with a helpful pop-up. It seems you're having trouble navigating basic functions. Would you like to return to the tutorial? Nervous laughter rippled through the boardroom. Jackson jabbed at the screen, trying to dismiss the message, but each tap only brought up more helpful suggestions. User appears confused. Activating beginner mode. Error. Unable to detect basic understanding of interface principles. Warning. Unauthorized presentation attempt detected. Catherine Walsh leaned forward. Mr. Porter, is the system suggesting you don't know how to use your own interface? It's a minor glitch, Jackson said quickly, his voice rising. The innovative nature of the design sometimes exposes when someone doesn't understand it. I suggested from the back of the room. May I? Before Jackson could object, I walked to the front and tapped the screen once. The interface immediately calmed, returning to its elegant, intuitive state. What you're seeing, I explained to the now very interested executives, is actually a sophisticated security system built into the interface itself. It recognizes not just what users do, but how they do it. Pattern recognition at the behavioral level. And it recognized that Mr. Porter doesn't understand his own system. Catherine asked, her eyes sharp. Not his system, I corrected gently. Mine. This interface was designed and developed by Summit Design Labs, specifically by me. Mr. Porter here thought it looked basic enough to steal. He didn't realize that looking basic was the point. I pulled up the real demonstration screens, showing the layers of complexity hidden beneath the simple surface. The behavioral learning algorithms, the adaptive security protocols, the psychological response patterns. Every element serves a purpose, I continued. The interface learns from each user, building a unique behavioral profile. When someone tries to present it without understanding those principles, I gestured at the screen, where Jackson's increasingly frantic taps were being met with more helpful suggestions about taking basic design courses. It knows, Catherine finished, a smile playing at her lips. Fascinating. And this security feature is built into the interface itself. It's not just a security feature, I explained. It's a fundamental part of how the system learns and adapts. The same algorithms that make it incredibly user-friendly also make it incredibly good at detecting who truly understands its architecture. Jackson had given up on the demonstration and was now standing awkwardly to the side, his perfect suit no longer looking quite so perfect. This is ridiculous, he sputtered. I have documentation proving this is my design. Porter Innovation Labs. Doesn't exist. I cut in smoothly. At least, not legally. You left the incorporation papers up on your screen last night, Jackson. They weren't filed yet, just like you hadn't actually quit Summit Design Labs or transferred any intellectual property rights. Catherine Walsh stood up. I think we've seen enough. Ms. Mitchell, Global Bank is very interested in this interface. The real one, designed by Summit Design Labs. Perhaps we could continue this discussion without unnecessary complications. She glanced meaningfully at Jackson, who had the look of a man watching his billion-dollar dreams evaporate. Of course, I smiled. Though you should know the real interface is even more sophisticated than what you've seen. This was just the basic demonstration. The meeting concluded quickly after that. Security escorted Jackson out, while Global Bank's legal team began drafting preliminary agreements with Summit Design Labs, minus one former partner. Later that evening, as I sat in my office reviewing Global Bank's offer, significantly larger than the original $2 million, I received an email from Catherine Walsh. Your basic interface just revolutionized how we think about banking security. Sometimes the most sophisticated innovations are the ones that appear simplest on the surface. Looking forward, to a long and innovative partnership. I smiled, thinking about all the times Jackson had dismissed my work as too basic, too simple, too uninspired. He never understood that true innovation isn't about flashy features or complex displays. It's about understanding human behavior deeply enough to make complex things appear simple. The lawsuit Jackson tried to file was dismissed quickly. Turns out, it's hard to claim ownership of something when the thing itself can prove you don't understand it. His reputation in the tech world was effectively over. No one wants to work with a designer who can't use his own interface. Summit Design Labs flourished after his departure. The global bank contract led to others, each one drawn to the idea of interfaces that could actually understand their users. We expanded, hired more designers, and I made sure each one understood our core principle: simplicity is sophisticated. A year later, I ran into Jackson at a tech conference. He was working for a small app development company, learning interface design from the ground up. When he saw me, he actually looked embarrassed. "I never really understood it, did I?" he said quietly. "How much work goes into making something look simple?" "That's why it looked basic to you," I replied. "You saw the surface, not the architecture." He nodded, then asked the question I could see had been bothering him. "How did you know I tried to steal it? How did you know to build in that security feature?" I smiled. "I didn't build it to catch thieves, Jackson. I built it to understand users. It just happens that understanding users makes it very good at spotting people who don't understand it themselves." As I walked away, I thought about how fitting it was. In trying to steal what he thought was a basic interface, Jackson had proven exactly how sophisticated it really was. Now, when clients call my work basic or simple, I take it as the highest compliment. Because making something complex appear simple, that's the most sophisticated design of all. The interface that Jackson dismissed as too basic is now the industry standard for financial technology. Global banks' user satisfaction rates hit record highs, and other banks are scrambling to license our technology. But more importantly, every designer at Summit Design Labs understands what Jackson never did. True innovation isn't about making things look complicated. It's about making complicated things look simple. And sometimes the best way to protect your innovation isn't with patents or lawyers. It's by making something so sophisticated that it can protect itself. Every morning, when I walk into our expanded offices, I pass by our company motto, now etched in glass. Sophistication lies in simplicity. It's a reminder that the best designs, like the best revenge, don't need to shout to make their point. They just need to work exactly as designed. They say simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. In the world of app design, that's doubly true. But try telling that to someone who mistakes complexity for innovation. I learned this lesson the hard way at Summit Design Labs, watching 5 years of groundbreaking work get dismissed as basic by someone who couldn't tell a wireframe from a window display. My name is Alexandra Mitchell, and I've spent the last decade perfecting the art of invisible design. Interfaces so intuitive that users forget they're interacting with technology at all. It's the hardest kind of design to create, and the easiest to dismiss if you don't understand what you're looking at. "This can't be it," Jackson Porter said, scrolling through my presentation with increasingly visible disappointment. "Where's the innovation? The disruption? This looks like any other banking app." I watched my business partner of 5 years dismiss 18 months of revolutionary work with the casual arrogance of someone who'd never actually built anything himself. Jackson had joined Summit Design Labs in our 2nd year, bringing connections and capital we desperately needed at the time. He was good at one thing. convincing wealthy clients that we were the next big thing in tech design. That's the point, Jackson, I explained, zooming in on the interface layers. The innovation isn't how it works,